The Gotham city of West Africa is Lagos. Around 14 million people live here, but there are no superheroes to be found. They live far away in America and they are white. Jide Martin wants to change this. By making comics in Africa, he is fulfilling a childhood dream.
I think it was about 5 years old. My mom would buy me comic books and I would trace every single one of them and completely ruin the comics. You know, that's basically how I learned. I would put a piece of paper under the comic, then I would put my pencil over it, and I would draw over it so that it would imprint the back of the comic. I didn't really go to any school, I just basically traced comics.
Guardian Prime and all other Nigerian superheroes are brought to life here in the Comic Republic studio. A kind of alternative African Marvel universe has emerged under the watchful eye of Jide. He has since moved to London with the hope that the superheroes from Lagos will soon achieve an international breakthrough.
One of my major goals with Comic Republic is to push the African content and the continent, you know, to the world. And to do that, you need infrastructure, much infrastructure that we can find back home in Nigeria. But, you know, London was just right.
But what do people think of Jide's comic books back home? Superheroes are urgently needed in the slums of Lagos. At least, that's what the kids think. If only they had their own superpowers, just like the characters.
When thieves want to go and thief, I will stop them and I will give them to police. Many people, they are dying. You go and help them. I want to change housebreaking.
If there is a superhero in Lagos, I will tell him to do so many things because Nigeria now, we are suffering. See the way our people living, see where we are living. Or assuming I am the one, I will do more than they were doing in Nigeria so that they will know I'm an African hero.
Even businesswoman Isabella can identify with the superheroine Avonome.
This is nice. Not only white people could be superheroes, but Africans within us, we have that power within us too. You can see her, she looks all powerful and she's a woman.
Jide Martin believes Comic Republic is successful because it closes a gap.
I strongly believe that people of color were not given enough voice in comic books before Comic Republic.
In a world of mainstream comics, Comic Republic sees itself as an alternative.
We need to take control of our narrative. And so the future is for Comic Republic to be on movie screens, to be on TV screens, to be on mobile phones, to be in people's homes and in people's hearts.
You know, we see our African comics, we see our characters as a bridge between Africa and the world in general. We can all be heroes, and you don't have to have superpowers to do good. That's what our comics say.
Now that's some cool stuff. Here is the man behind the African superheroes, Jide Martin. Welcome to the 77%.
Yeah.
Okay, so you believe that Nigeria, and indeed Africa, should have its own superheroes. Why is that so important?
It's necessary for any people, any tribe or any race to have heroes and icons that look like them, people they can look up to and inspire to be like.
So if someone says, okay, why can't we just stick to Batman and Superman? Is that a big deal?
Yeah, there's always a thing about identification. You know, when it's familiar, when you can see yourself in that thing, then it becomes easy for you to believe in that thing and to aspire to it. So it's necessary that people of color, you know, see people of color or diversity, no matter where you are, being represented and to give you something to look up to.
Now, tell us about Comic Republic. What exactly goes on there?
Comic Republic is a group of individuals that have come together basically to tell the African story and to push the African narrative in the right light so that the world can see how awesome the continent is. Not just the negative stuff, but the positive stuff.
I see. So that's a good summary of all that happens, because I'm sure it's normally a very busy day. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we spend the whole day, you know, people think we're just drawing, but no, we actually have the stories of a whole generation of people to convert. We have loads to tell. We're always creating, and it's so much work, but it's fun at the same time.
Yeah, I guess that's the most important, having fun while working. Now, you did not really go to a school to learn all of this, right?
Yeah.
Now, for young people watching us now, what are we saying then? Is it okay to just have the talent and do with it, or would we encourage them to go to school to add more value?
There's something I always say, that show me somebody with skill and he'll eventually trump anybody with just talent. So, I mean, when I started, we didn't have a lot of places to look for, but there's the internet these days. There's something I say, the school of YouTube, right? So I would advise anybody, you know, that take your talent and then hone it and make it a skill, and that way you will always be on top.
I see. School of YouTube. I think that sounds interesting. So you have moved to London, right?
Yes,
why would you leave Nigeria to go to London? What really made you make that move?
The dream of Comic Republic was to put Africa stories on the map and to take Africa to the world. And unfortunately, there isn't enough infrastructure in Nigeria or government support for us to be able to do that. And I've taken it as far as I can in Nigeria. And then I've moved to London in order to be able to get the infrastructure there, to be able to take Comic Republic to where it's supposed to be, which is a global brand.
And how's it going so far?
Oh, I mean, there's infrastructure. Yeah, so it's doing well.
Yeah.
It's doing well.
Yeah. How do emerging companies like yours survive or go around these challenges?
Okay, so first things first, I think you should provide what investors need. You need to, as a creative, there's still that incubating process for Africa. We need to prove that it can be a product. So I'll say that creative come out, you know, a bit from the creative space and go into, you know, the commercial space and provide value for investors, right? We need to build the business. And when it's a business, we'll find investors and things will move on faster.
You know, one challenge that I have is it seems still across Africa when you tell someone, hey, I draw, or I'm a creative artist, it seems people have this sort of negative perception about it. How do we change these mindsets?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. I think in order to change the mindset, we need to start from within. We need to build ourselves to look more professional. We need to also show that we have the professional discipline, right? We need to do our homework. We need people to see that it's not just a vocation, but it's actually a business. So my recommendation is for creatives to actually start to try and change your perception, and the rest of the world will follow.
And what goes into changing this perception? Is this just a thing of, snap, let me think differently? Or how does this work?
I mean, there's a saying that says, if you're in Rome, act like the Romans, right? So if you're in business, act like business people. You know, everything, first impressions, the way you act, the way you relate, there's a language to business. There's a language to running a company. There's a language to project management, things like that. So I think we should start and pick up, you know, take professional courses, do things that have to do with business, learn the trade, learn the language, and then we'll be able to change the perception.
So is it that easy to start in the creative art industry, in your case, a comic, and just easily attach business to it? Or does one come before the other? This is just so that young folks can really understand all this.
Of course, I mean, what's business? You're selling something or you're trading something. So I would say start with the creative part, have a product, right? So make sure you actually have the creativity and the product. And then when you have a product, then you attach the business to it.
I see. Okay, I'm getting some tips there. Now, since we know a lot of the challenges, and we're talking about funding, infrastructure, what major support should governments do? Because I know you normally say, don't wait on the government. You, the individual, like you rightly said, the creative artist should invest more in themselves and look at the very business part of it and move on. But what role really does the government have to play in all this?
Oh, the government has a huge role to play. For example, they should make it easy for people who have proven themselves worthy, in a sense, easy access to funds. So if a creative comes and they have a product, right, and they have a good business plan, as long as it has the possibility of being profitable, you don't need for it to be profitable, right? It just needs to have the possibility. And if that creative or business can prove that, then the government should make it easy for them to get funds, even if it's a loan for them to pay back, for them to be able to do this, right? And of course, basic infrastructure. If there's light, we don't have to spend so much money on power. So I mean, if they could do just those two things, availability to funds for people who prove themselves credit worthy, and also providing power, the industry will change greatly.
Yeah. So definitely governments should come on board and support the creative art industry. I'm a superhero, so I'll do my part, okay? Now I'm going to give you the chance to talk to the 77% of Africa's youth watching right now, because I'm sure most of you are into the creative art industry. My own sister is a great artist, I told you earlier. What's the message for those that really want to make a career or a life in this business?
I would tell the 77% that it's in their hands. They should take full control of their destiny. I mean, the older people don't appreciate who we are and what we do. We need to prove ourselves. And like everything else, once you've proven yourself, the world is your playfield.
So we should just go for it.
Go for it. Completely.
So what superhero name would you made me a superhero? What name did you have in mind? So clearly he didn't think about any name for me, which I don't know if I'm supposed to be happy about or not, but we'll deal with this.
Galaxy Man.
Galaxy Man. I mean, I don't know. But anyway, thanks a lot, Jide.